What up, old heads? Future Kurt here, coming in up top to let you know that we had a little bit of a microphone malfunction on Kateline's mic. It's not her fault. It's not my fault. It's her husband's fault. Okay, maybe it's her husband's office's fault, because that's where she recorded and she's going to talk about it. But anyway, we had a mic issue. There was nothing I could do, and we just got to roll with it. So, blame Kateline's husband. Kurt and Kateline are both super cool. Back to the show. I mean, let's start it. All right, so, excellent news. Laptop situation has been resolved. What happened was I spilled the sour apple monster all over the keyboard, busted it so bad, the guy at the shop said I'm not even going to touch it. He literally said those words to me. Kateline, what do you make of that?
You gotta have a no drink rule. No drinks anywhere near the electronics.
Okay, my ban was for sour apple monster. I mean, I've got just regular Flav monster right now. You think this one should be banned too?
You're playing with fire.
I know, but it's so good.
You cannot just put it off to the side.
Look, I think we're going to risk it. More importantly, I've got an envelope here.
Open when Kateline says.
Kateline, can you confirm for the whole heads that this envelope is indeed sealed?
Yes.
All right. I saw something in this Dateline that made me 100% confident that it would inspire Kateline to say a certain word. When you say that word, boom, we're going to open this up, okay?
Okay.
I'm Lester Holt.
Howdy, Holt Heads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Kateline.
And we are here to discuss a repeat. They're still in the repeat doldrums. I mean, this is like week 5, I think, of repeats. Is it not?
And Dateline fans are not okay.
Everybody in the comments on Instagram, it's always like, what the hell? NBC can't afford to make new episodes? Like, their attacks are always way too deep. I'm like, guys, it's not that.
It's not that. There's plenty of murder, don't worry.
Yeah, and AC is responding like, soon. And again, I say, she's responding to those yahoos, but not us, Kate. What's up?
Maybe she thinks we're a bot.
No, she couldn't. She couldn't think we're a bot. I mean, I'm always hitting her up and stuff. I'd be a pretty smart bot if that was the
How
case.
often are you hitting her up, Kurt?
Well, I'm liking almost every post, unless her dumb husband is in it. Then I say, not liking.
Okay, so our podcast is liking her personal posts, not Kurt's personal Instagram account liking the posts.
They both get a like, I'll be honest.
Okay.
I see it, I double tap. I don't always like Dateline posts because sometimes I'm mad at Dateline.
Sure.
About a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
So here we are, and I noticed, Kateline, your background is a little different. So what's going on your end?
Today I'm in my husband's office because my room is a mess.
Fair. Here is the IMDb for the season 31 episode, The Secrets of Birch Drew. The Secrets on Birch View Drive. Nailed it? After an apparent brazen home invasion during the holiday season in a quiet Connecticut community leaves Connie Dabate dead, investigators discover a silent witness that cracks the case wide open. That's kind of a baiting description. But tell me, Kateline, what did you think of this episode?
I remember watching this when it was new, and it's all right.
Yeah, I think it's a down-the-line Dateline in that it's better than all their crime shows, but it's just like a double for Dateline.
Yeah.
Does that feel right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's got all the good stuff. It's got a decent red herring that nobody's buying.
Sure.
AC says some fun stuff. There's a person to hate with every inch of my soul and body. It's got all the good stuff.
And this is, of course, an AC because she lives nearby.
Yeah, this is right in her hood. This is set in Ellington, Connecticut, 2015. So is there like an area of Connecticut, New York, where they're kind of like the same area? Because she lives in New York, doesn't she?
No, she lives in Greenwich, Connecticut. But people commute into the city from there and the surrounding areas.
It's 2 days before Christmas, 2015. Now, there are conflicting reports on what this dude actually got up to on the morning of the 23rd. But according to Rick Dabate, husband of Connie, soon to be R.I.P., he's on his way to work, but darn it, he forgot his laptop. So he pulls over, texts his boss an email, says, I'm going to be a little late, goes back home. And when he goes inside, what he did when he got inside, also up for debate. Oh, sure.
No.
Is also a thing. But what we hear first is that he went up to his bedroom. And what did he find in the closet, Kateline? Because he heard what he thought was obnoxious cats.
Well, he says that he went upstairs and opened that closet and found a very tall, big man with some kind of mask on, with a very distinct Vin Diesel-like voice. just in the process of robbing him.
He told detectives the Vin Diesel intruder was holding a knife.
And that little Vin Diesel detail is going to be the gift that keeps on giving all episode long. And I don't know about you, Kateline, but I was here for it for every single time. How'd you feel about this Vin Diesel business?
I thought it was absurd.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll save it. So anyway, he sees a fat Vin Diesel.
A large man, deep voice, in camouflage.
Obese to stocky.
Rummaging through his wife's jewelry. He subdues him somehow. And then, oh no, he hears his wife, Connie, come home because he can hear the garage door open. And he's running after fat Vin Diesel. And he says, Connie, get out of here, run! And she instead runs downstairs.
Into the basement.
Yeah, runs down to the basement to get their gun to save Rick's life.
Just as he's about to enter the basement, he hears a gunshot. And he knows that this intruder has shot his wife.
Yes, even though when he first faces him in the closet, all he has is a knife, right? Like this intruder did not have a gun.
So he miraculously found one in the process of running from the closet to the basement.
Yeah, or like Connie managed to open the gun case and the killer was like, thank you.
And she said, you're welcome, now shoot me.
Yeah, in the back of the head and then the stomach, please. So this killer, no problem dropping bodies. Connie Dabate is out quick. But I think he grows a conscience because he does not kill Rick Dabate right away. Tell us about this fight.
There's a struggle, and this intruder zip ties Rick to a folding chair, and he beats him up a little bit. Not a lot, just a little. And Rick claims that he is unconscious at some point. And when he comes to, the intruder's gone, and he's laying on the floor, still zip tied to this chair. And he's able to make a call to 911 somehow.
And we hear a little bit.
We do.
They only played literally 2 words he said. What were you thinking when you heard him?
911. Hello?
Need help.
Yeah.
Need help.
Need help. Oh.
What was I thinking? I was thinking, you guilty.
Yeah, and my first thought of this guy probably done did it is the fact that he was only zip-tied with one arm and one leg, which is so clearly like, oh how am I going to get my other arm zip-tied if I'm the only one here?
Yeah.
So already I'm going, okay, you're guilty. When did you know this fool probably did?
When they said he was the husband.
Okay, that's it, you knew, huh?
Yes. Also, the Vin Diesel thing. It's too much detail. And that's what the cops said, too.
Yeah.
They were given too much detail, and that's always a red flag.
And we saw that with Remy.
Prison is easy.
Because he was talking about iPod Nanos and, like, remember the special cereal that his wife was eating?
Right.
So it's definitely too specific. I don't know if let's say this guy didn't do it. I'm not mad at the Vin Diesel description if that's what the guy sounded like. But in hindsight and just being a normal person watching a show and seeing this dum-dum show up, you know that he's guilty. So he's making that up out of thin air. Like that's what's wild is that he plucked that detail to include. Like if the guy really sounded like Vin Diesel, I think it would be fine. But
he must have been a really big Vin Diesel fan. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I can see that. And I love that Dateline paid the few bucks again to play a little Vin Diesel clip.
You get involved here, you put everything you have at risk.
Because the audience, we got to hear that voice. Okay, so that's money well spent by NBC.
I think Rick just really loves Fast and the Furious.
He seems like a Fast and Furious bro.
He knows that at the end of the day, it's all about family. That's why he killed his.
I just heard this deep Vin Diesel-like voice.
The cops show up, and there's Rick on the floor. Now, they have 2 pictures of Rick, like half zip-tied and bloody, lying on the floor. 2 different angles they took pictures of him. So my question to you is, do they come in snapping pics? Like, are they taking pictures before they help him?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Good, honey.
You would think the paramedics would be rushing in. There'd be no crime scene photographers there yet.
Yeah, and when they do show up, it would be the spot where Rick was. Not literally Rick lying face down in the kitchen. Like, that felt weird as hell to me.
I didn't even think of that. That is weird as hell.
But he's got blood and he's got hits here and there, but they are so superficial, right?
Yeah, they're so superficial, it basically looks like ketchup. There's no pool of blood, there's no smearing of it all over the place. It's very contained.
Which is weird because what we didn't mention is that there's a blowtorch involved. Feels weird to leave that out, but there was genuinely a blowtorch apparently. And, AC had a great line that'll come up later in one of our lists about all the weapons around the crime scene. Is that ringing a bell?
Vaguely.
All these potential weapons.
So they rush Rick to the hospital. Connie Dabate is dead on the spot. Now, before we go talk to Rick in the hospital and get his scoop, let's meet the three amigos, or the three musketeers.
These are the neighbors that live across the street and next door, and they are Connie's BFFs. And like you said, they wanted us to know that they go by Three Amigos, or the Three Musketeers. How clever are these girls?
God, Kate, thank you. They redeem themselves moments later, but in this moment I'm going, oh, come on. Yeah, like, name another option for three people in a group. Like, three ninjas? Like, honestly, what's another three you could do? Three blind mice?
Do you even have to say three anything? Could you name your group something completely different and creative?
Either the Three Musketeers or the Three Amigos.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun together.
These women did everything together, and on the day that this happened, they saw police activity and they were terrified. They tried to get a hold of Connie and they couldn't, and they knew something was very wrong.
Yeah, and then on one of them, cops show up to their door and they're like, get in the bathroom, I'll knock twice when it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because as far as they know, according to Rick, there is a guy in camouflage and a mask running around outside.
Running around the neighborhood.
Yeah, so they don't know where this guy is, so they're out there looking for him.
So the one woman reenacts this. She shows us where she went into the bathroom and put the kids behind the toilet, and that must have been terrifying.
You hear me knock twice, then you'll know the house is clear.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, I mean, maybe this was just the retelling, but I wanted to tell that cop to be like, stop saying what the secret knock is so loud. Like, what if this guy's around here?
Also, it was just knock, knock.
2 knocks.
Just,
yeah.
Could we come up with something a little more creative? Something that's maybe a little more unusual so that anybody couldn't just guess that?
So I'm feeling bad for these girls, but they literally live within eyesight of each other. They all got big yards and stuff. I mean, that'd be pretty dope to live that close to your friends. What do you think?
It'd be great. And they talked about how fun it was, how they were hanging out all the time and partying and living it up. And they talked about how beautiful Connie and Rick's house was, that they had a fun nickname for it.
And what did they call it?
Now, this is where I got a little annoyed, Kurt.
What? This was when they redeemed themselves for me.
They called it the Dabate Estate.
Estates. So it's like Debate Estates.
Right.
It was funny because we actually called Connie's house the Dabate Estates because we used to always go there.
Dabate Estates. That's funny as hell, Cateline. You don't like that.
First of all, their actual last name, they say, is Dabate. So why not just say the Dabate Estate?
Well, why say Target? I mean, it just feels like something the Three Musketeers would do.
Okay, well, here's the second part that annoys me. He's Italian.
Okay.
Their name is not Debate. It is Dabate. So why are they going by Debate?
What the was that?
I don't know. I ignore it. I don't know. Why are they going by Debate? It's Dabate.
That's a good point.
They talked about how Italian he was.
And how Connie loved it.
You know, she loved Italian men.
Right, and we meet his parents. Very Italian. Debate. Get out of here.
Okay. I do love the fun of saying Dabate Estates, okay? That's a lot of fun. And AC loved it too. She's like, I mean, it sounded like AC wanted to get in on this. Like, there's an opening for a third musketeer.
Sounds like a winery.
It doesn't sound like a winery because Estates, I'm so angry about this.
This is hilarious that this is what broke you for them, and this is what saved them for me.
I remember being mad about this years ago.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, there's not really a mystery here. We got a lot more to talk about with Rick Dabate and stuff, but there were so many things in the first act of this Dateline where I did not like him. Like when he described the cats as loud, obnoxious.
The cats make a loud, obnoxious mess.
It's like, you got time to get your opinion of these cats in when you're telling the detectives what happened to your dead wife? And then when he says, I told her to run, and my wife didn't run, she went downstairs. It's like dissing her in his explanation.
This guy sucks.
So I yelled to her to get out of the house. My wife didn't run.
Cross-eyed motherfucker. Right? Those eyes are really close together and a little bit crossed.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I might have called them, me or you might have called them something else right here. But, should I reveal the envelope now or later?
Did I not say it?
No, you didn't.
And you wanted me to here?
No, I didn't want you to, only if it felt right. I think it's time to open up that envelope. Now, Caitlin, I thought for sure the first time Rick Dabate's face was on screen, I thought we were going to hear Guilty because of them crazy eyes. You almost did.
They are crazy, but they're crossed.
Yeah. The more I watched the app, the more I thought about it. Like, they are specifically... It's not crazy, first off. It's that there's something wonky about him. Mm-hmm. And when he smiles, they get more wonk.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on. You say that. Anyway. Listen, you've said crazy eyes made him a murderer a few times. Right?
Yeah. And I stand by that.
Okay, sweet.
But this is more crossed than crazy.
Yeah.
Listen, Kurt, you don't know me.
You know what? I don't. That's a great point. I don't think I'm going to try that again. That was a foolish... I flew too close to the sun. Okay, so now the fun continues with old Rick Dabate. Not only did we get all the Vin Diesel stuff, the blowtorch, also the wallet had been tossed out. He said that that Vin Diesel asked him for his wallet and PIN numbers, and then his wallet with stuff still in it was out in the yard. Now they brought some cadaver dogs or crime scene dogs, one of which was named Rocky. What did Rocky do? What kind of route did he find out?
Rocky went hot on the trail, was able to determine that Rick was the one who went outside, dropped his wallet, and then came back in.
Yes, and they're thinking, okay, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he sniffed him or something weird. Let's have him go on another run. Mm-hmm. Where does the second run end?
In the basement.
No, in the ambulance, sniffing Rick Dabate.
Oh, right.
That's crazy.
The second run ended literally at Rick's feet.
Rocky takes a left turn instead of the right and goes into the ambulance, essentially, where Mr. Dabate was laying.
Trying to get into the ambulance with him. I mean, this is... if you're Rick in that moment, you're probably thinking, fuck. So they rush him to the hospital. Luckily, it's not even flesh wounds. It's like paper cuts. He's A-okay. Detectives get the green light to go in there and talk to him.
He's so okay that he can leave that same day.
Oh yeah, discharged same day. But before he walks out of there, head held high, he's got to tell the detectives some stuff. And he's upfront about a few things. Okay. He says, detectives, real talk.
I'm cheating on my wife.
Okay, that would have been the right move. But how does he frame it for the detectives, Kaylee? How does he frame it?
I don't remember specifically.
Okay. He starts it by going, look, I have this old high school friend who got divorced. She really, really wanted a kid, but it was too expensive. And my wife and I, because we love her, we wanted to help her out.
But we didn't want to just donate sperm. We knew the best way to do it would be for me to actually have sex with her. And my wife was okay with that.
Yes. He goes... The detectives ask, and your wife's cool with this? And this was I was dying when he said this. He goes,
it's her idea.
It was her idea, in a way. Like a double whammy of like, dude, shut the f*** up. Her idea.
Do you think your wife had any issues with that?
It was her idea, in a way.
Also, it is not too expensive to jizz in a cup and turkey baste it into someone. That's how lesbians do it every day.
Is that true?
It doesn't cost anything. Now, if you're having fertility issues with the sperm or whatever, but the easiest way, jizz in a cup and turkey baste that. So I don't know what he's talking about.
I know that from the movie Don't Breathe. You ever seen Don't Breathe?
No.
I mean, yeah, that sounds cheap as hell. I don't know what Rick is talking about. And the detectives bust him on it immediately. Like the way he walks this back.
And then, finally, Rick settled on the real story.
Was her getting pregnant unexpected?
It was unexpected.
This man is a moron.
Yeah.
And the more we learn about their marriage through the friends and family, I think there were red flags all along.
Yes. Okay. Here's where I'm coming in with some background deets because of the article.
Okay.
A year prior to her murder, in December of 2014, Connie made 2 entries in her iPhone Notes app entitled, Why I Want a Divorce.
My husband is stupid.
Yeah. And I love it.
And number 2, we have to pronounce our last name wrong for some reason.
The Dabate estate.
The article goes on to point out that the negatives was much longer than the positives.
Sure.
Which seems reasonable. It was like how he handled money, his uncaring attitude towards her, not coming home on time, and he acts like a kid constantly. These all sound like textbook, my husband sucks.
Yes.
Thanks.
But her friends noted that for a while they were the couple that everyone envied, because whenever they were at a party or with a group of friends, he was so doting.
Yeah.
He was all over her. Can I make you a plate? Can I get you a drink? Is there anything you need? That's a red flag.
Can somebody make us a plate?
He's putting all the husbands to shame in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he really did. He did.
Yeah, that does not earn any points whatsoever. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest to do, okay?
Yes.
They show some news footage from the crime scene in 2015. I don't know if I'm calling this a BYB, B-roll you busted, but I find it hard to believe that this high-scale Connecticut neighborhood news team was still shooting in SD. Because it's friggin' SD. What's up with that?
Interesting. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. 2015?
Yeah. And also, keep in mind, this is the same town that has like a 5-person detective team to look into stuff as well, right? Isn't that this episode, or am I getting mixed?
A 5-person detective team?
We are a team of 5 detectives that will investigate the most serious crimes that occur.
There's the 2 baldos we talked to first, and then we talked to Longhair, and then the 2 guys sitting next to him.
So you'd think their local news affiliate would have an HD camera.
Yeah. And now I'm wondering if this is the same people involved in that one where the cops had a CSU, like a 24 war room. Remember when they go to the cops thing and they've got all the big monitors on the wall, like doing minority reporting?
Oh, I love this part.
Vaguely remember that. Wasn't that the episode with Fotis, though?
Yeah, perhaps.
I'd like not to discuss this.
Is that not?
That's not.
Was he not in this area?
It's Connecticut, but I don't think it's the same area.
There were 2 people in this Dateline that I would bet money we've talked to before. Was anybody ringing bells in this app?
Was it that news anchor?
That's one of them. Shannon Miller, because I remember discussing the gymnast with you. And then also the long-haired detective Pyatt. We've seen that long hair before.
But
we've seen him.
Did we see it in this episode before? Because this isn't that old.
No. True, but it's still before we started, and we hadn't covered it. So you think I'm just remembering a hot take from when I was just talking to myself?
Yeah.
In the dark ages?
Yeah.
Pre-ILH? Maybe. Well, future Kurt's going to come in here and either bust my chops or say well done. Oh, I'm definitely here to bust them chops, dude. I can't find anything about this long hair in the transcripts from episodes 1 through 50 of ILH. Now, Shannon Miller, that was dead on, but this long hair thing, Kateline, I mean, you know what? I can't prove you right, Current Kurt, so we've got to go with Kateline is correct, and your chops have been busted. They also noticed that Connie is wearing a Fitbit, and this will help later, although how much I'm not sure. A lot of people love calling it the Fitbit murders, I think because it's fun to say and you need a title for a murder, but I don't think it has really anything to do with it. What do you think?
It was a little confusing. So this Fitbit, they were able to pull it up and see Connie's movements the day of the murder.
So she starts getting steps again on the Fitbit, so that's about 9:18, 9:20.
So Rick's story is that a few miles down the road, he forgot his laptop, so he pulled over to do all this stuff on his phone, telling his boss he was going to be late. Now, I've got some stuff that he Googled then that is pretty fun. But all of the stuff that Rick is talking about that he did before discovering that there was a guy in his closet was all done on his home IP address. All of it. So that means they were like, you couldn't be more than 300 feet away from it unobstructed. And I was like, not even that. I mean, forget 300 feet, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Wi-Fi windows are way smaller than that in reality. And they certainly don't go for 2 miles.
No, I can't even get a Wi-Fi signal at the sidewalk in front of my house.
Yeah. So Rick is back home with the kids, and people aren't wise to him just yet. There's a first suspect that I think the whole town was in on, which I might propose was a setup from the jump. Can you tell us about the red herring, the contractor?
The cops wanted to know if Connie and Rick had any enemies. And surprisingly, everyone was pretty quick to say, actually, yes. They were in the middle of a lawsuit with a contractor that they had hired to do work at their house, and he didn't do it, or whatever. And that this guy was, quote-unquote, crazy.
Yeah, and they had a windshield was cracked, and they were considering buying guns because Connie was afraid of guns. They bought those guns 2 months before the murder.
Sure.
Connie was definitely afraid of guns, but this contractor was so out of control that maybe they should get a gun.
They show us pictures of the broken windshield and stuff, so somebody broke them, and everybody's so afraid of this contractor, but I'm going to confidently say I think Rick broke that windshield, and I don't think the contractor did anything.
Rick broke that windshield. I don't think the contractor was involved at all.
No.
The picture of him, he's just like some old guy.
Seems like a nice guy. Now, he's bald like Vin Diesel, so far so good. But it's not if he looks like Vin Diesel, it's if he sounds like him.
And he doesn't.
Nope.
But Kurt, no one does.
Nope, it's true. That's why Vin Diesel is Vin Diesel.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, this contractor, I'm not going to get in the weeds about the details of the lawsuit, but it was done and gone with. That had already been resolved, and I'm pretty sure the Dabates had to pay him a couple thousand. Because the whole problem was they were adding more work to his original estimate, and he's like, well, now it's going to cost more.
And they didn't like that.
They didn't like that. So, but I think that a lot of this is Rick Dabate planting seeds for killing his wife.
Absolutely.
Which is also why, in between texting his boss that he's going to be late and going home, he did 2 Googles, okay?
Let's hear it.
One, he did Google for the schedule at the local YMCA where his wife had a workout class. So that's pretty suspicious.
Connie arrived at the YMCA, as seen in these surveillance images, but didn't stay long because her exercise class had been canceled.
But then he did something to like throw off the scent. Number 1, long-lasting tattoo ideas.
This was Googled that morning?
Dude, it was Googled literally between him driving back to his house. That was Googled, okay?
But he didn't actually drive back to his house.
Well, I'm saying...
He never left.
True. Within the time window that he is proposing, that's when that Google happened.
According to the electronic data, Rick Dabate never left the property. Rick stayed home and waited for Connie to return.
You see what I'm saying? According to his timeline, he Googled that while he was driving back home. Clearly it's bullshit. He Googled it from the kitchen, pre or post murder. But he's thinking of things that are like non-murdery, right?
Again, so uncreative that you need to Google ideas for that. You have no original thought in your entire brain, so you have to Google ideas.
Yeah, and I got news for old Rick Dabate. All tattoos are long-lasting.
That's how they work.
That's why it's a tattoo. And then he also Googled the Mike and Mike show, which I don't get. But do you agree with me? I think he's Googling generic things to make it look like he's not mid-murder. What do you think?
Yes.
Sweat. So now that the contractor's out, there's only one more suspect, and that's friggin' Rick Dabate. And the whole town's pretty much onto it at this point, including the Musketeers.
Well, I knew it was him by that time. He just needed to get arrested.
And why don't you tell us about the showing of Connie's body, like the wake for Connie, what happened when the friends are in line to like give their condolences to Rick.
They get up to where Rick is standing in line. And Rick doesn't know who they are.
Yeah.
He talks to them like they're just another person in the line. And they're like, Rick, it's us.
Yeah, he literally says...
He greeted us by asking us who we were and how we knew Connie.
What?
Mm-hmm. How did you know my wife?
Now, if like 300 people had come up to him before them and he was just going through the motions and maybe he was kind of, if he had genuinely lost his wife and was shell-shocked from it, yeah, I could see how you'd be like going through the motions and not really present. But he murdered his wife.
Yeah.
So he has no right to be in mourning or act like he's so out of it that he can't process what's happening.
Ugh. And then he would text them later. He would only text, right? Like he was playing, as AC said, the Artful Dodger in the hardware store where he would like dip out if one of the Musketeers saw him.
Peggy remembers him playing the Artful Dodger at a hardware store.
Hey, what the hell's the Artful Dodger? I've heard that phrase. I think it's a movie. What is it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, me neither. I think it goes back to like Sherlock Holmes times for some reason. I think it's Sherlock related. How do you feel about that?
I think that's a really solid guess.
Thanks, man. And the friends said they thought they were being punked, so that was good. That's our second or third punked mention on the show. I should start counting those.
Well, that qualifies for your list.
Sure does. And it sounds like I'm burning them off too quick, but there were a handful of them, so it's good stuff. When we get to those lists, a lot of movie stuff. Anyway, spoiler. So the cops have all this digital evidence, and let me tell you some more of this digital evidence where they make the arrest. Because they arrest Rick, I don't know, shortly after the murder, right?
I don't think too much time goes by.
Well, there's enough time where he pulls a Casey Anthony and is out partying while his family's at home grieving.
That's true.
Where do you stand on that?
He leaves the wake and goes and drinks.
He left the service for her early. He wasn't the last person when they put the coffin in the ground. And then he was seen around, like, in that week. Even AC says it specifically.
Normally a festive week between Christmas and New Year's.
So within a week of his wife's death, he's out getting drunk with buddies.
Laughing and having a good time.
Yeah, and if he didn't have kids, I wouldn't hold that against him, I guess.
Well, because you don't know how people cope, and maybe you could argue that would be one way to numb the pain, but we know that he murdered her, and that he has kids at home who are mourning the loss of their mother, and he's out having a good time at the bar.
Yeah, and when he is home, he's ordering takeout, but this is when he communicates with the Three Musketeers. He says, hey neighbors, where's some good takeout around here?
Like he hasn't lived there for years.
Yeah, so again, I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. He's trying to think like, this will make me look like a good dad. Like, oh, look, dad in over his head, he's got to get food takeout or something. Also, Rick kept turning on and off the home security system the morning of. There's an hour of time missing where it's not accounted for.
The allegation was that he was changing his story to fit what he'd heard
during the trial.
Trial starts. There were a lot of delays, the usual BS, one of which was COVID. And this I loved. Like he hired the most high powered, is that right?
High profile?
He hired him, so he's got to pay the big bucks.
Rick hired a prominent defense attorney.
And, ooh, bummer. Lawyer died before the trial started. So now he's stuck with, like, the young rube.
Don't you hate when that happens?
I'd be like, you guys got to give me a little bit of a discount. Because I'm not here for little man, okay? I was here for the big dog.
Rick's attorney, Hubert Santos, passed away during this time, causing a further delay. Trent Lalima would now try the case without his partner and mentor.
And now that he's RIP, I got to deal with this guy's bullshit. He opens up with, now keep in mind, it's up to them to prove reasonable doubt.
Love when they explain how the law works.
And it's important to remember, it's the state's job to prove beyond a reasonable doubt their case.
Yeah, and he wasn't buying the Fitbit stuff. What was your take on this lawyer? I hated him. What'd you think of him?
I didn't hate him. I just thought, he's doing his job.
I guess, but he's like, Fitbit is a thing that it was designed to make money. We can't believe it. And I love that AC kind of stuck it to him of like, okay, but how is all of her electronic devices wrong in the same way? Like, they all support this.
It's a lot of different things that have to fail at the same time.
Yeah, and he goes, I do agree that electronics can be faulty, or something like that, where it's like, dude, shut up. Shut up.
Yeah, but again, it is his job.
Fitbit designed their device to make money. It's not meant to be a absolutely accurate scientific or legal device.
Okay, well, first of all, let's talk about this prosecutor, because boy, does he run with this Vin Diesel thing. How does it go when the prosecutor, when he gets Rick on the stand?
He says Vin Diesel's name at least 35 times.
There were two people in that closet, you and Vin Diesel. That must be your wrestling match with Vin Diesel, correct? And that Vin Diesel guy.
And they do a little montage of it, and I loved it. I was belly laughing over here, Kate. I was dying.
You must have been fighting with Vin Diesel, were you not?
I was fighting with an intruder, yes.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know why it was necessary to say it that many times. I'm sure the jury is familiar with Fast and Furious.
Yeah, but it specifically points out to the absurdity of his excuse. And I love that he's shoving it in Rick's face every chance he gets.
Yes, it's petty.
He's the one who said the guy sounded like Vin Diesel. So I was certainly going to use it with him.
It's petty as hell. Now, I loved how he treated Rick Dabate. However, guy loses some points when the mystery girlfriend takes the stand. We get the lady who was pregnant and had Rick's baby that Connie said they should do. Oh, wait, no, she didn't. Connie actually didn't know anything about it.
It was her idea, in a way.
She was texting. They were texting about getting a divorce, like around the time of the death. What'd you make of her on the stand, and were you okay with how chill the prosecutor was?
You thought the prosecutor should have attacked her more?
Look, I'm watching a lot of SVU, right? The amount of times the prosecutor or defense attorney will cut their asses off and say, yes or no, please. Yes or no, please.
Did you see the gun detective?
It was chaotic. They were screaming. There was a little boy there. It was very dark.
Yes or no? And I remind you, you're under oath.
No.
I mean, it's all day. This guy was letting her cut him off, not answer the question, and then she was trying to pre-guess questions. I hope you're not going to ask me that because it was 7 years ago. Well, sorry, I am going to ask you that, Sarah. I'm going to ask you that right now.
Please don't ask me to remember any of them because it was 7 years ago.
Don't you think you should have been tougher?
She really thought Rick was innocent. She was up there not giving them an inch to defend her man.
Yeah, and they talked about how she's almost a hostile witness.
I wouldn't say she was hostile, but I would say she approached that line.
Now, that's an official term. What does it mean, and what threshold do you have to cross to get there? Do you know?
I would have thought that she had crossed it.
Yeah. Come on.
To cut off the prosecutor during cross-examination, to be kind of belligerent and refuse to answer certain things, and the judge never stepped in and said, what are you doing?
Your Honor, Miss Jordan, just answer yes or no.
I didn't like it, and he lost some points that he had gotten for all the Vin Diesel stuff. There was one, the last Vin Diesel they said, I was like on the floor over here because I thought we were done with Vin Dieseling, and then they had one more for us.
You chased Vin Diesel, who was chasing your wife.
Was that in the closing argument? And in conclusion, Vin Diesel.
Guilty. We don't even have to go back in the room. Jury says guilty. Speaking of, what is the verdict? What happens to old Rick?
He's guilty.
Guilty as hell and gets 65 years.
Bye, Rick.
The prosecutor asked for 60. The judge said no.
65.
65.
Just going to tack on 5 for good measure.
That's good.
Rick Dabate, convicted wife killer, sentenced to 65 years in prison.
Okay, before we go to those lists, Did you remember when AC said, everybody knows what DOA means?
And so
Everyone knows what DOA means.
Exactly.
Do you remember this?
I don't remember her saying that, but everyone does know.
My next question was going to be, do you think Keith knows what DOA means?
Bolo?
Bolo?
Yes.
Bolo? Okay, while we're talking to other hosts, Lester had a f***ing Murph doggy in line for the ages. Do you remember what Lester said? You had to be thinking about the dog in that moment. Had to.
When did Lester say this?
It was, you know how he throws to commercial? He'll have like and this made the detectives do this, and then we go to commercial?
Sure.
He said, and then something had their whiskers twitching.
What had investigators' whiskers twitching?
That's a Murph dog thing, if I've ever heard it. He's usually a nose for Murph, but come on. Whiskers twitching?
That's pretty good.
Some things make your nose twitch.
Yes.
All right. I think it's time for those lists.
Okay.
Kate's unnamed list.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nada.
On to Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List.
Ton of stuff. There was another fake out where we were about to get signs of a struggle. Didn't happen. There was a good one that should have been there, but AC was toying with me.
Photograph his face, hands, and body for signs he had been in an altercation.
I wouldn't say that's a sign of a struggle.
Ton of movie stuff, though. Three Amigos, Three Musketeers, Bad Game of Clue, right?
Yep.
This is like a bad game of Clue. All these potential weapons.
And every week when I do the poster for the Insta, some are easier than others to come up with ideas. And already, while I was watching this, I was going, a fat Vin Diesel with the Clue poster. I'm like, this thing does itself.
Fat Vin Diesel with a blowtorch in the library.
So that was pretty sweet. And then we had, one of the Musketeers says,
Something you would see out of movies. Yeah.
Right down the middle. Kurt's Kick-Ass List moment. Punked, we're counting that.
I honestly thought I was being punked. I was like, this is
unbelievable.
not.
I mean, the Vin Diesel thing, obviously. He's a movie star.
He is. One of the greats.
Anything else in there? Yeah, he's a megawatt star, as I said.
It's a very big franchise.
Vin Diesel, the megawatt Hollywood star of the hit Fast and Furious film franchise.
Yeah, which jumped a few installments ago, in my opinion.
No.
Do you party with it?
I party with it.
You think they're still just as good as when 5, 6, and 7 came out?
5, 6, and 7 are great, but it's all the same nonsense.
I don't know. Look, it might be the stink of The Rock. I've been over The Rock for a long time, so this might be on me. Anyway, all right, we this past week there was yet another repeat. They've been doing repeats of stuff we've covered. We've been doing the show long enough where they're doing repeats of things we've already covered. Bethany Vanished, and then also The Note with friggin' Brody. Remember that, Grosso?
Do I remember that? Yes. I will never forget Brody and his long hair and his dumb senior portraits.
I would encourage the whole heads to check out our YouTube. I would also go to our Patreon, ILH, where we talk about stuff that is Dateline adjacent. Now, the next episode's going to be huge because this is our first one bought by the fans. A Holt Head has requested that we do a Star Trek app. I'm stoked.
Good. Keep me informed.
Because Kate is a Star Trek expert. I know an embarrassingly little amount about Star Trek. And I think it's going to be fun for you to have to hear me describe the story because you're going to be like, wait a sec, pause.
It's going to be hilarious.
Yeah. I'm practicing all my pronunciations so there's not another Scully incident. Okay, so I'm going Janeway. Is that good?
Very good, very good.
Tight. Well, on that note, I'm Kurt Money.
I'm Kateline.
I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, I'm Lester Holt. Good night.
This Vin Diesel guy.